So what we're talking about then here is that even though Democrats in places like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, I think some of these other states, they're still 10 or 15 points behind. But I have seen some analysts, and we had Mark Halperin, the political guru, the other day say that if you have enough of these votes, you could even see an early call on some of these states. Do you agree with that idea?
I think that's a little bit of a hyperbole. I saw the same stuff.
Yeah.
I know Mike, but I think what he was doing was setting up a flare to Democrats that they were not as far out in front as they needed to be. I doubt very seriously enough votes will be cast before the polls close to be able to make a call, because keep in mind, they won't start counting those votes, those ballots in Pennsylvania until the polls actually close anyway. So I think it was a little bit of hyperbole to get a message across, but I do think it sends the message that Republicans are doing better than even the Democrats expected.
Yeah. Now, Mick, I'm going to be talking to everybody about this evening, but I've got to talk to you about and get your reaction to some of that Kamala Harris town hall. Just want to play a little bit of this. Have a look.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
Mick, it always just feels like watching her that she thought Veep was an instruction guide and not a sitcom. How can she have no coherent answer? You've worked on plenty of political campaigns to such obvious questions this late in the day.
It's a serious question. I'll give you a serious answer. She's untested. She's untried. This is her first real campaign for national office. Yes, she tried to run for president in 2020, but was such a horrible candidate. Even though she had a great rollout, she was out of the race before the Iowa caucuses, which is the first in our election cycles here. So she's just never done this before. These are easy questions, James. This is not the hard stuff. This is not like asking Tim Walz why he said he was in Tiananmen Square when he wasn't. This is, what do you want to do when you are president? Look, if she loses, I think these clips will be what go down in history as the reason that she loses. Back in the 1970s, you remember that Ted Kennedy got asked a question by Roger Mudd. Back in the time, there was only 3 news channels in this country, so everybody was watching. And he asked a very easy question of Senator Kennedy: why do you want to be president? And Ted couldn't answer the question, and it ended his presidential aspirations. This is the same thing. This is in that same ballpark. These are the easy questions that every candidate should be able to answer, and she doesn't have a clue, and it's not going over very well.
Yeah, and it's not, because I noted that David Axelrod, who's a former strategist and advisor to Barack Obama, so, this is a guy who knows a thing or two about winning a campaign. Well, he said this.
Doesn't want to answer a question. Her habit is to kind of go to word salad city, and she did that on a couple of answers. One was on Israel. Anderson asked a direct question: would you be stronger on Israel than Trump? And there was a 7-minute answer, but none of it related to the question he was asking.
And, it wasn't just him who was critical. There have been plenty of other people on the left who have also been critical of her performance here. Is this a sign that there are alarm bells going off among the Democrats and in the Harris campaign?
Oh, sure. There's alarm bells left and right. That Mike Halperin thing is something. The David Axelrod thing is another. Keep in mind, she did an interview with Fox News last week. I can't remember if you and I talked about that or not, or we talked about that when you and I had dinner last week. By the way, it was great to see you when I was in
Great
Sydney.
to see you, as always.
But she's not able to answer these easy questions. When she goes on Fox News, what does that mean? That means that they think that she is losing. If you're winning, you don't go on the other side's news network. You don't need to. So yes, there's all sorts of alarm bells, all sorts of red flags. David Axelrod is not a dummy by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think that it's as bad as they say that it is. Again, I think there's some hyperbole here designed to sort of scare Democrats into voting and turning out. Again, getting out the vote here is critical in a country where we don't have compulsory voting. But certainly it's not good news in the Democrat camps right now.
Yeah, and then, also we're just seeing that the amount of time that she's spending on the road, I'm getting very 2016 vibes here, because it feels like, according to a New York Times analysis, Donald Trump since September 1st has done 71 events in a lot of key states. Kamala Harris has done something like only 51. Is she just simply not getting out in front of people enough? And is this a bit of a repeat of 2016 when, again, Trump was getting out in front of more people than Hillary and just closing the deal more?
Tuesday morning, all the chatter was about the fact that she had no events scheduled for that day. Wednesday, she had no public events scheduled. She did an impromptu thing about John Kelly's comments, but she didn't have a rally or a campaign stop scheduled. She did some television late at night. She's not out on the road. It's hard to explain to people how just stunning this is to folks who do this for a living. This is crunch time. I remember where I ran for Congress 4 times. We never took a day off from campaigning for the last 6 weeks, from roughly mid-September until the day before election. It was go, go, go all of the time. And she's almost running a Rose Garden campaign. I don't know if it's laziness. I don't know if she's tired. I don't know if they've decided that the more the public sees of her, the less they like. But she is taking a very, very unusual approach to these last couple of weeks of the campaign.
Mick Mulvaney, it certainly is unusual, and we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for your time.